Hello everyone, Brandon Marcello here in Gainesville, Florida, outside the Stephen O'Connell Center in the aftermath of Mississippi State's 69-57 loss to Florida. Florida ranked number 14 in the country. You knew this is a game that State was not going to be favored in. In fact, Florida was favored by 9 points or so, and I wouldn't say the game developed like you thought it would. And honestly, it's kind of hard to predict SEC basketball, especially on the road. But State was in this game very much so throughout it. Just when it seemed Florida was about to get things going, maybe get a double-digit lead, Mississippi State kept battling back. But there was that key 11-0 run, which you'll read about in the Clarion Ledger on Sunday. Not midway, but late in the second half, late in the game, that just really killed Mississippi State. And it was all set up by Renardo Sidney having a couple turnovers. He had a turnover on a foul. They committed another foul on the very next trip, and then took an ill-advised three-pointer that allowed Patrick Young, his player, the player who's supposed to be defending all game, allowed him to run up court unguarded for a dunk, and it sparked an 11-0 run for the Gators. They end up going up by 13 points and then built that up to 15 with 3:46 remaining in the game, and State couldn't recover. They had a few shots late, but ended up losing by 12. This is a game that State had its chances. They're going to look at the film, realize they did, but the Bulldogs just, once again, allowed a lot of three-pointers. Rick Stansbury said that this Florida team, now obviously they're number one in the nation, averaging 10.6 three-pointers a game. They hit that average again with 11 three-pointers on 11 of 24 shooting, but the Bulldogs had their chances, mostly because they were getting to the foul line. They hit a lot of shots underneath the basket. Arnett Moultrie did some work, was 4 for 10 from the field, had 13 rebounds and 12 points for his 13th double-double. The problem was when they went to the free throw line, they weren't able to hit them. And these were at key points in the game where State was within 4 or so, would tie the game or get within 2. And if they got some free throws going, they could really grab the momentum, get some control of the ball game, because Florida was doing a good job trapping Mississippi State, but D. Boss and Brian Bright were doing a good job of getting the ball out of those pressure situations and getting in Arnett Moultrie's hands in good position. There was a couple of really good passes in this game. The problem was couldn't hit the free throws. 8 of 14 from the free throw line. That is just not going to win you games on the road. That's just a little bit over 50%. And then, they hit a few three-pointers, 7 for 16. They hit some late, Mississippi State did, but they had to hit those free throws. They had the advantage in the paint, you would think, but then you look at it, and Florida finished with 28 points in the paint. Florida had 28, Mississippi State had 14. But the key here, I think, was that 11-0 run, obviously, but Renardo Sidney was figured out on defense. Billy Donovan said that Renardo Sidney's a great guy one-on-one on defense. If he stands there when you catch the ball and you try to drive around him, you're probably not going to do a very good job, especially when you're trying to back into him. He told Patrick Young at halftime, stop backing into him and just go straight up with the basketball. He did that, and Patrick Young ended up finishing with 12 points. I think he only had 2 or 4 in the first half. That was a big key. Florida, of course, is going to get their three-pointers, but I think the key there was Patrick Young wearing out Renardo Sidney a little bit. Sidney played a great first half, and then they figured him out, and he wasn't able to adjust. Arnett Moultrie fouled out. This is a game that you thought State would have the advantage in the front court, but Arnett Moultrie fouled out. Just a frustrating day. Moultrie was very frustrated in the front court. They did a very good job of defending him. He finished with 6 turnovers. I think another thing that was very interesting, obviously Billy Donovan's a Hall of Fame coach. He mentioned that the plan going in was to trap D-Boss, get the ball out of his hands, and wear out those 3 guys that lead the SEC in minutes played. D-Boss, Rodney Hood, and Arnett Moultrie, and they did that. State had 14 turnovers, 6 by Moultrie, 3 by D-Boss. D is the type of player that controls the game, as Billy Donovan said, and he can rest the team by resting himself when he controls the ball, and they didn't want them to do that. Florida did not want Mississippi State to do that, so they put them in pressure situations, made them force some things, and they forced 14 turnovers. Florida, on the other hand, only had 5 turnovers, only 1 turnover in the second half. State could not get any turnovers to really make this a game, and Florida came up with the win. Not too surprising. It's not devastating. State had their chances. This is a game that it would have probably been a lot different if it was in Starkville, but if there's one thing you have to be concerned about, it's the defense around the arc. These last 3 teams, Vanderbilt, LSU, and Florida, have really done a great job hitting some threes, especially late in games. But Rick Stansbury said that he doesn't really think that's defense. He just thinks those are really two good teams shooting the 3 ball, Vandy and Florida. And then against LSU, they just hit a few late. We'll see how that goes, but State's got some time to rest up. They need it. The players are tired. The depth is an issue right now, as we know. DeVille Smith, still no update on him. He's not going to be back next week for practice, it looks like. So they need to rest up. They get a week off here. They play Auburn next Saturday at the Hump. They need the rest. But I think it's going to do it here from outside the O'Connell Center, the O-Dome. 69-57, the Florida win over Mississippi State. State will probably drop a little bit in the rankings, probably still be in them though, but still a lot of work to do, and they got to figure out some issues. Find out more in the Clarion Ledger Sunday, and follow me on Twitter at @bmarcello.